Hello guys and welcome back to another skill point guide video for Total War Warhammer 3 and Immortal Empires. Today we'll be going over Malagor, and probably one of my favorite legendary lords in the game currently, just because when it comes to Malagor, it's all about him. He's a very powerful spellcaster. He's a flying spellcaster at that, with his Crowfather like title, as well with the something wicked that this way comes, as well as something wicked this way comes again. Basically, he's got enemy leadership -5 plus -4, which is at 9, plus his enemy leadership from the Crowfather is at -17. It's just a very powerful legendary lord. He's basically causing mass routes with his spellcasting, with his debuffing of the enemy. Just a really fun legendary lord to play as. Now, when it comes to Malagor, just kind of keep that mindset where it is all about him, in my opinion. I do like to grab the Gargantuan Hooves. I really like the fact that for the Beastmen, their campaign movement range is 10% instead of 5, that it's been, kind of nerfed for every other faction in the game. So I really like the fact that it's 10% there. But then after that, I just go down his magic line. Now, he's kind of got two where he's got a bunch of passives, sort of like Teclis and Kairos Fate Weaver. But really, I just kind of focus on the Flock of Doom, the Penundral Pendulum, and I do like to grab the Savage Dominion, and then come down the rest of his passive line here. And I do like to grab every single bit of it, and also grabbing Doom of the Mankind. Obviously, the Doom of Mankind is for the Winds of Magic cost -10%, but all of these passives here for your allies, but specifically Malagor, is really useful. The Vigor loss, -1% plus charge bonus is handy. The Wild Heart for the extra power recharge rate on top of Greater Arcane Conduit, which you'll get, plus his Unholy Power ability. So he's just himself personally is providing loads and loads of power recharge rate for your Winds of Magic in battles. Life Leeching gives him basically infinite Winds of Magic. And Smoke and Mirrors just gives him a little extra speed when he will be casting, which will be almost the entire battle, at least until you run out of Winds of Magic there. So really good extra magic line for Malagor. And then I do like to finish up the rest of his magic line. The Enabling Foe is really useful just to debuff an enemy. Doom and Darkness I don't mind getting for the extra leadership, so you can, for one unit potentially. Or if you want to overcast it, you can cause loads of leadership problems, especially when he's hovering above them. So, I mean, if you overcast it, if you add the -16 with the -17 that we talked about earlier, a -33 leadership debuff in an area of effect on the battlefield is a huge decrease for the enemy there. Really powerful, really deadly combination. And then just finishing up with the Greater Arcane Conduit. Again, just for some extra power recharge rate, and also that spell mastery will just help your spells do a little extra damage with that little extra bonus of 10% there. Now, I do like to come down his extra special skill line. I kind of think of it as he's got a magic line, and then his passive abilities is kind of a special skill line, but also his traditional one, just to give some extra enemy leadership debuff. So I do like to put 2 points into that. It also upgrades this even further, so we're looking at -8 plus -9 plus -8 there, plus Doom and Darkness. So he's just a massive menace to the enemy's leadership. It's really useful there. I don't really care about the Nightmarish Cabal or the Portents of Doom. I'm not a fan of Terror or the Minus Control. I'm not really concerned with causing revolts in a enemy province. And if this was like hero capacity or hero recruit rank, I'd really like that. But the hero action cost and hero action success chance being increased, I'm just not that too big on it. I don't really do a ton of agent actions in my campaigns to begin with, so I just don't prioritize that as much. But I do like to grab on Holy Power for some extra power reserve capacity, and Crowfather just to give him some extra speed, as well as some extra missile resistance for himself and the rest of his army there. Now, grabbing the Mantle of crows can be useful. You just have to be careful because it's basically a mortis engine as long as he is in melee, and you just have to be careful with it. I don't mind grabbing it, but just be on the lookout because his melee stats are not very good. So just make sure, you know, he's not getting into some high like dense areas. Personally, like, kind of keep him on the edge a little bit because he's a very small entity as well. So, you know, if he gets stuck into melee, he's not going to be able to get out, and his melee attack, melee defense, weapon strength is just not going to be able to keep him in the fight very long. So it can be very useful, but also very potentially very deadly against Malagor himself. So you just got to kind of be on the lookout there when you do want to end up using the Unending Flock of Doom. I kind of usually like to use it towards the end of a battle in terms of him using up all of his magic. That way you still kind of, you know, have a mortis engine ability, and once you do end up using all your winds of magic, the enemy should be extremely weakened anyway, and that could just kind of be like the final touch, really to kind of just push the enemy over the edge there. Now, continuing with buffing him personally, I do like to grab the speed for all units and vigor loss reduction, mainly to provide him with some extra speed. And, you know, that's his base speed now. We haven't even gotten the extra smoke and mirrors ability, so really, really useful there. And then getting him some uncanny senses and shadow hide, give him more resistance. That way we're already up to 45% missile resistance, and he's, you know, he's very, very fast. He's a very small entity, so he's going to be very difficult to hit when he's zooming around the battle map. Really, really useful there. The Mantle of Gorak, I'm just not a really big fan of it. The fact that it only affects one unit, if it was an area of effect, that'd be fine, but also it's extremely expensive. Even for a non-overcasted version, it's just not really worth it in my opinion there. So I usually just kind of ignore that one. But anyway, I do like to go down his blue line a little bit for him. I like to do the Blessed by Evil. That way you're giving him some more income from post-battle loot, which as Beastman, that's where you're going to be making the bulk of your money. And also a higher chance of stealing a magic item from the enemy is always really beneficial there. And then out of the remaining ones, I just like to grab the Fatigued Gallop, just for some extra casualty replenishment rate. It's really just about going down the rest of his blue line and grabbing the Unholy Resistance. Give him some extra replenishment rate in case he ends up getting caught in melee. Foul Premonitions I like to get just to give him some extra ambush success chance and defense chance, just depending on what you're kind of using, but primarily for the ambush success chance, because as the Beastman you have the standard Beastman ambush stance, so you're always going to be ambushing the enemy, so why not increase your chance of achieving that ambush as high as you can. And then getting the Corruption just for that magic item drop chance. That way you're just, you know, it's kind of straightforward. You're just giving yourself potentially more items after battle is there. And then getting the Children of Chaos mainly for the campaign movement range. The other things are nice, but it's mainly for that extra 5% campaign movement range there. Now that's a lot of things to go through. A lot of it kind of detailing, you know, everything that you can do for him. But as you can see, with, you know, 50 skill points, we still have 14 points to spend. So it's really, really beneficial there that the Creative Assembly has increased the cap to 50 instead of 40. It makes him just even more powerful. And so because of that, I do like to grab more points into Corruption, getting it up to 15% instead of 5, because why not? And then depending on what you end up going with, you could go down Dread and Charms, or Dual Wielder if you want to end up buffing some of your units in the army. Personally, I like to do Dread and Charms just to give him some more armor and melee defense. And then after that, you know, we still have 11 points. I like to grab Mentor just to spend some of that experience, or share some of that experience rather, with some other lords in your campaign. Because with the Beastmen, and each of them having their own horde or like camp or whatever, however you want to look at it, you really need the Lord to be powerful enough where he's not going to die. That way you don't lose the progress you've had on the camps, because the camps are very expensive in terms of the building to upgrade them. Also the buildings, you need to be able to recruit a unit in those camps. That way the Lords just kind of have a jump start in terms of getting higher levels so they can defend themselves a little better there. Now really after that, it's kind of up to you what you want to do. You can still go down the red line a little bit. But even though he doesn't personally buff too many other than harpies, which harpies, you know, who really cares about harpies? In my opinion, it's just not that big of a deal. But I do like to go down the red line just a little bit. I do like to grab some freakish mutations for some Jabber Slice, you know, Gorgon units. I do like to use them in his army, and you know, they're just fun. They're just really fun units to use primarily. And then usually I do the Fury of the Herd. No, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But I do like to, you know, definitely grab the freakiest mutations, but it really does kind of depend on what you're kind of looking for in terms of units. You know, if you just don't want to focus on his units at all, you can, you know, finish the Mantle of Gorak. You can do the Voice of the Dark Gods, giving himself more leadership, which I don't actually mind getting, just so it's, you know, once he is in melee, that way you give him more leadership, so he's just not likely to break there. But it really kind of just depends on what you want to do. But the last 2 points, I you know, thinking about it, why not do the Mantle of Gorak? You know, it's finishing out his magic line, but you know, you could also do the Nightmarish Cabal or the Portents of Doom. But typically around this point, you know, once he does hit rank 50, as the Beastman, you kind of just steamroll really quickly. So a lot of his skill points, you know, once you get his magic line done, his special skill line, it's really kind of game over for the AI anyway, in my opinion, when you're starting with Malagor. So it really kind of just depends what you want to do with the remaining skill points there. But that is how I level up Malagor. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, how you guys level him up. You know, I'm always, again, interested to hear how you guys go about it. But don't forget to hit that like button if you're enjoying the content and enjoyed the video. And until the next video or live stream, I hope you guys have a good one. And until then, I'll see you later. Bye.